New video time. What are we talking about today? We are looking at best locations. I think the video was going to be 10 best locations for buy to let, but when I was doing my research and going through it all, I thought it would be, it's very difficult to define the 10 best locations, so I thought we'd call it choosing the best location, or what makes a good buy to let location. So what are the different things we're going to cover off? We're going to look at defining what makes a good location. That's important. How your goals will impact your choice of location and how you define what the best place is. Examples of good locations, examples of not so good locations. Sorry to upset people in those locations. And then top 10 locations based on different criteria and different sort of goals and reasons for buying. So that's what we're going to look at. You stick around to the end and we'll do a nice little summary and show you an example of a good place you could buy, just so you can understand how it all works. Step one, really, when looking at the best buy to let location, is defining your goals. Now, I know there'll probably be people that are watching this video wanting a definitive top 10 list and 3 places where we're going to say buy here because they're the best places and you make loads of money. It's not really how it works. You need to spend a little bit of time thinking about it and actually putting some thought and mental power into what would make a good location for you or what your goals are. So defining your goals will help you decide the best qualifying criteria for locations. Each person's locations will be different based on your reasons for buying and your goals. So a couple of example goals to help sort of show you how these will impact your best locations. So I'm looking to maximize my capital appreciation over a 3-year period. I want to then remortgage, pull out more money to buy more property. For that to work, I'm going to be wanting to find somewhere that's growing really well from capital appreciation perspective, and that figure, capital appreciation, is going to be really, really important to me. Versus I'm simply looking at a longer term buy and hold strategy where I want good quality tenants in there the whole time who are going to be paying off the mortgage. Well, in that case, I'll probably want some less of a focus on capital appreciation, but more of a focus on quality of tenant and employment centres to allow me to achieve that goal. Finally, I'm a serial investor. I'm focused purely on yield and numbers, stocks and shares, stock market versus property. I can get 7% in the stock market, so I want at least 8% in property. That again is going to be a different location, because finding a very high yield is a totally different set of criteria. You're looking at lower value properties, which naturally means a higher yield. So hopefully that shows you how different goals can mean different locations. Now, generally speaking, as a general rule of thumb, what makes a good buying location? If you have the fundamentals in place, the strong basic fundamentals, then you can't really go wrong. These fundamentals are in place in most locations, but the scale and the level of the fundamentals and therefore your margin for error varies on the location. So we use these 3 things as a guide. It's a bit more than 3, but we've made it in 3 because it's easy to understand. Infrastructure. If you watch last week's market wrap, you'll see what the impact of large infrastructure projects such as the Olympics and cities hosting World Cups is on those locations. So infrastructure, connectability, and then employment/population. So to give a bit more sort of meat on the bones of those 3 things, infrastructure, are there new large infrastructure infrastructure projects that are improving the connectivity, that are creating employment in these locations? The larger the project, the bigger the impact's going to be. A new bus stop in your town on the coast somewhere, which is miles away from anywhere else, that infrastructure project is not going to have the same impact as the new HS2 line that's running from Birmingham to London. Connectability. How close to you are you, or is the location, your rental property, to a bus stop, a train station? How does that train station connect to larger cities or towns nearby? How easy is it to get to the motorway and from there to get to large employment centres again? Thirdly, employment and population. If you've got a larger population somewhere, you're naturally going to have a larger market to rent your properties to, which is going to mean a greater chance of success. Population, employment, we say go hand in hand, because if you've got good connectivity and you've got lots of employment centres close by, then you're going to be able to get to and from that employment, so people are going to want to live in your rental property. So connectivity, employment and population and infrastructure projects. Those are three sort of fundamentals to look for in each area. Therefore, based on that, cities and larger towns are going to have better or larger fundamentals. This is not to say all large towns and cities do well, and it's not to say all parts of these large towns and cities will do well. As we all know, or a lot of us know, there are desirable parts and less desirable parts within towns and cities, so that's where it's important to do your research. Again, just because somewhere's large, it doesn't mean it's guaranteed to do well. Look at Aberdeen, for example. Aberdeen, according to Zoopla's house price growth list from May this year, 2021, is bottom of the list. It's achieved minus growth in the past 12 months when other places are doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% plus growth in the past 12 months. Now we could do a whole another video on why Aberdeen isn't performing that well as a location, but you just need to look at the types of employment there. You know, for example, it's very heavy oil and gas focused, so when oil and gas is not doing very well, Aberdeen does not do very well. So yes, employment is important, but also diversity of employment, not just reliance on one large employer. For example, you know, you can look at coal mining in South Wales back in the day. You know, a large reliance on that one sector when it left meant that there was not much to prop up the house prices. Then you can actually still buy a terraced house in some Valleys towns for like £15,000. Doesn't mean to say it's a great buy-to-let location though. Conversely, you know, it's not to say that all large locations are good, and it doesn't mean to say that all small locations are poor either, or locations further outside of towns and cities. Look at the impact of COVID and what that's done to property prices in regional areas. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you must do your research, and don't just think because somewhere's a big town it's going to do well, or because it's smaller it's not going to do very well. Top 10 locations then, where are they? To show how a variance in location happens depending on your goals or your criteria for what makes a good buying location, I'm going to run through some top 10s with you. So this one is from Zoopla. It's one of their most recent house price reports. There are other house price comparison sites out there, not just Zoopla, but according to Zoopla, based on house price growth alone in the past 12 months, your top 10 locations in reverse order are Cardiff, Bournemouth, Birmingham, Leicester, Leeds, Belfast, Nottingham, Sheffield, Manchester and Liverpool. So those are the locations that have the highest capital appreciation, property price growth over the past 12 months. There's our top 10 from Zoopla, from up-to-date market research based on the best growth locations for property. So what if we want best yielding locations? Again, this is from Zoopla, so same data, same company, so there's not much variance there. What are they saying about highest yielding places? Well, we've got a totally different top 10 list altogether. In reverse order again, Hartlepool, Nottingham, County Durham, Sunderland, Stirling, Glasgow, Inverclyde, North Ayrshire, East Ayrshire and Middlesbrough, all with yields over 7%. Why do they say that is? Well, lower house prices means you can generally achieve higher yields. You know, it's very difficult to get a 7% yield on a £2 million property in London, but a 7% yield on a £60,000 property in Glasgow is much more achievable. So looking at those lists, what does it show us? Well, it shows us we've got two totally different top 10s based on two different sets of criteria. So that should be telling you, well, if I want yield, I need to be looking for different things to if I want capital appreciation. What if I just want a general good buy-to-let? Where are the best places to look? You probably think, well, perhaps it's a mix between the two. Okay, let's choose somewhere as an example to look at and to study the fundamentals of it to see if it makes a good buy-to-let. So for this example, let's go with Derby in the UK. It's one of the UK's, I think it is the UK's most central city. It may be not flash, it may be not on everyone's list for investment, it may not be on the top 10 for house price growth, or it may not be on the top 10 for yield, but does that mean it's a bad location to buy? No. So what are the underlying fundamentals? Remember, those are employment, population, infrastructure, connectivity. Let's look at Derby. So you've got large employers with Rolls-Royce, Bombardier and Toyota supporting 18,000 jobs there. You've got a population of 250,000 people, so you've got your employment and your populations there already. Connectivity wise, you know, it's surrounded by a ring road, it's 8 miles to the M1, And then you've got direct trains to Birmingham, 35 minutes, to Cardiff, to Edinburgh and to Plymouth as well. I mean, I think that's probably a bit far away, but still you get the picture. In addition to that, according to Ben Glover, Head of Development at Savills, there's a massive undersupply of properties there to meet the demand. So are the fundamentals in place? Yes, they are. Can you apply that to other areas? Yes, you can. To summarise that then, I guess what we're trying to say with this video is the best places to buy, best places are not the same for everyone. Your goals, whether it be yield, whether it be a steady income, whether it be having the mortgage paid off or capital appreciation as soon as possible, those goals will define your best place to buy. I mean, look at Zoopla, even they have different top 10s based on what they're looking for. So really, you know, what that tells us is the importance of clear goals. If you have that clear goal in place, then you know what you're looking for. When you know what you're looking for, it's much easier to find it. There you go. Maybe not what you were expecting in terms of having a clear top 10 places, but hopefully it's some food for thought and it'll help you create some clear goals. And then finally, once you've got those goals in place, go then and do your research on those locations. It's not difficult. Look for the fundamentals. If they're there, you know, thumbs up. Okay, thanks and see you next time.